Welcome back to Factorio Seablock, and this episode it's time to solve some few problems. First of all, over here, just before the episode started, I started dealing with this extra slag that we had. It's backed up like this all the way back into our electrolyzers. So I've put down a splitter and kept it so its output priority is left, i.e. continue supplying our ore system, please. And then the rest of it we're sending back here, and I'm putting them straight into crushers. Those are going straight into assembly machines, which are turning them into landfill. So getting a lot more landfill is probably one of the biggest problems we have at the moment. And once I get enough steel going, I'll probably upgrade this entire line to electrolyzer Mark IIs, and in turn get a lot more slag we can use to feed the landfill system. Because this is very slow from mud. And so too is the sort of output of our ore system here. It's just not very fast. These are much faster once we have enough slag to feed them. Indeed, they did produce quite a bit to start with, but that's slowed down a bit now just because it's caught up. The other thing we can do, of course, is if we can get rid of algae at some point, braid that to produce still the same probable output, still the same solid fuel or carbon as a backup, then we can get rid of all of this and maybe reuse all of this crushed stone again for landfill, because right now it's just being made into essentially water, mineralized water. Yeah, mineralized water. So if we had all of that spare, we could just pipe that straight into assembling machines. We wouldn't have to worry about it too much. I don't think it's used elsewhere. I think it's used just for the algae. Yeah, it is. It's just for these algae farms. So I've got Tree Arboretum 1 on research. That should help. What I also did was I headed out down here. You can see this sort of land bridge heading out. Goes to this little island, picked up everything on the island, and we got a few different things. We got a temperate tree, a desert tree, a temperate garden, desert garden. I think that was everything. I think I had one or two of those originally, but we picked up some more. So those will become very useful once we get through this research. So first of all, let's wait for that research, and then we'll see what we can build from it. Ideally the arboretum and the seed generator, I want to say. Tree seed generator, something like that. It should give us a source of wood anyway, and we'll figure out that very shortly. In the meantime, and while we're waiting for this research, I'm just going to get more landfill and see if I can open up a larger area of land. It's really the main stumbling block at the moment for me setting up things properly. In the early game of Seablock, you end up with so much restriction on land area that you end up having to do all these tiny little setups that are fiddly, especially all this stuff down here for the red science, that you want to get a proper setup done instead. So we want landfill, and we want to be able to do this with a lot more, lot more. I would like thousands of the stuff ideally, so better get going. On to Tree Arboretums. With Tree Arboretums done, I've moved us on to research of farming, and there's going to be desert farming after that, and then another one after that. But you can start by making one of these, a desert tree seed generator. Okay, seems straightforward. It's not quite as straightforward as you might think. You can put it down, and to start out with, you only have one recipe. You need soil. Funny thing, even though we have sand, we don't really have soil. So to get soil, well, we're going to need to have a look what we can make it with. Soil comes from mud and compost, and mud's easy. We have lots and lots of the stuff. So we need farming, which is what we're doing right now. Moving back into compost, we need fermentation base to get that, and we're going to get some other stuff out of it, acetic acid or ethanol gas, and that might actually be useful. I can use that for ethylene, for liquid resin, and liquid resin, I assume, gets us to resin. Yeah, so fiberglass boards, but we're not going to worry about that just yet. We can just store it all, throw it away. Doesn't really much matter. Fermentation base is the important one, and that needs fermentation process, which I think is on this tech tree right there. So it's yellow and red. So we're going to want this farming one. This desert farming one, which needs these, we're going to come back to that in a second. And then this one, fermentation process, that'll let us get all the way to compost. So back we go, compost. So we need fermentation base. The only way you can do that to start with is with corn. Fruits you can't make because whatever you choose needs fertilizer as well. And unfortunately, fertilizer needs compost. So you end up going in a circle. So you can't use that. That's not important. The only thing you can do is corn. The only thing corn really comes from, although I think there's a few bits and pieces. A rumby filler. I wonder who that reminds you of. Yeah, so there's a few recipes for corn. A lot of them require fertilizer, however, which we don't have. This one requires soil, which is just circular again. So the only thing we can actually do is create prime dandelion. Inside that, we just get sand, water, and prime dandelion seed. And that dandelion seed comes from desert gardens. In fact, we can, if we have, oh, that's desert farm upgrade, that's later. We can just do it from this, presumably. Yep. So we get 1.5. 1.5? You get half a seed. Oh, well, I suppose you get, you need 2 to get 3 out or something? In any case, one desert garden gets us 1.5 seeds, and we're going to need 5 seeds to make prime dandelion. So that is going to be interesting. Do I have enough gardens? I think I do. Desert gardens, yes. So that would make 7.5 seeds, which should get us going. So back we go. Compost, fermentation, corn. So yeah, we'll be able to get 35 prime dandelion. That will let us make corn, but we're going to need to make sure we get more seeds. Yeah, so once we've got it started, we can start a loop of seeds going, and that's the more important one. I don't want to use them accidentally on making corn, and that again is in a seed extractor, which is a slightly different version, not exactly this block, but similar. So we're going to have that piling up and reproducing lots and lots of seeds. Once we get enough, we can probably overflow some into making corn and go up the whole stack. And that's going to take a bit of research to get opened up. But as we head back up, once we get to soil, there we go. We can then use this desert tree seed generator, and this produces tree seeds. Okay, so tree seeds. We can use those with some soil to make wood. Lots of wood, in fact. Once we get fertilizer, we can get even better, but the raw wood, we can then turn into cellulose. And you remember what we can do with cellulose? Yeah, we can make it into all the stuff that we've previously done, like wood pellets, wood bricks, charcoal, solid fuel, etc., etc. So with that, from a wood-based system, you can make all of this, and presumably with much less room, and more importantly, not all of these electrolyzers. We may require, some other blocks, but it won't require this huge amounts of water and electrolyzers and crushed stone. Hopefully, we'll see. So I'm going to have to wait for this research to get going. While that's going, I actually want to ask a few of your questions. So over here, we're going to start to expand out, obviously, our landfill. I had a look at a couple of other streamers and YouTubers who were making Seablock series. I haven't looked at Zisto's, but I have looked at Neilhouse's and Xterms, and well, not Xterms, Seablock. I don't know if he's done one, but Neilhouse certainly has. He's doing city blocks, which I kind of like the idea of. What I don't like the idea of too much is this miscellaneous patches of water anywhere, and I don't think there's any way of generating water patches in this pack. So what I could do is add in a mod that I saw on Xterm's channel, which is canals. It's basically water fill, just like this is landfill. The only downside, well, not downside, the sort of realism side of it is that you have to dig it from an existing water source. So that will just let me feed in water as we're expanding outwards with landfill. I prefer like something I could, I don't know, have a pop a unit down and it would just bore a hole or something like that, and I could pour power into it or something, but nothing like that at the moment is around. So I'm just concerned as we expand much bigger than we are going now, I'm going to want to create a grid type of system. Like Neilhouse is good, and he's got a good playthrough from the first couple of streams I saw anyway. He's far more organized than I am, and so definitely go and check his channel out if you haven't already. So yeah, I would like to do that kind of system, but with some water pathways, some kind of way. At the very least, it's decorative. But other than that, that means we can always pull water in. It seems to be quite a common thing with it. We need it at the moment. We could have one patch where there's just a pipeline running everywhere, but it's just not very tidy, is it? So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and I'm sure we can figure something out there. In any case, I still expanded this solar array. I'm just going to skip forward now until some of this research has been moved on a little bit. Okay, so farming's done. We're into fermentation process. That's going to take some red science. So I've just rigged up this tiny little system again to start producing. It may have stopped. Oh no, it's still a little bit backed up, but not too much. It just needs lots of iron to cope. Before we actually just kick that back off again, I want to make a seed extractor. We're going to need that for the next stage. So let's... Oh, I didn't actually want to do that. Let me just put them back in that lab. That's fine. These labs will just... They're the simpler versions of the labs. They'll just take yellow science and use that just fine. Here comes our seed generator. We're going to use this to convert the desert garden stuff into the various seed types. So it's not really going to be something we need a lot to do with, I don't think. At least not for the moment. So let's pop it down somewhere here. So desert seed extraction, we can get all the seeds in 16. Yeah, I think we're going to do that. And then I think we're going to at least put a couple through that process. Wow. That's going to take a while. Wow. Okay. I guess this is somewhat like a lab. The main thing we need to get out of it is that unit there, that green cylinder. We need 2 lots of this to come out of here in order for us to get the next research, and the desert farming research. If we have a look here, desert farming requires that we have 32 of this exploration token biotech. Okay, and that's what we get from this other process and for sacrificial electromagnets. So yeah, we need to put these probably presumably into the labs, just like anything else. I don't think there's a special kind of lab, hopefully, but we do then have all the processing to make prime dead lions, among other things, and zelo squash processing and all kinds of other stuff. So yeah, lots and lots of stuff we can get out of this, but we do need this to finish. I should probably try to make that earlier. I didn't realize it was going to be that slow. Okay, I'll just leave that. I also pulled out a line of sand here from this second washing facility that we have to make our clay bricks. There's plenty in here. It piles up, so we've just got, again, another deprioritized splitter, just bringing the excess off into another line, because sand we're going to be using to make, let's just have a look at this sand and not the kind of landfill kind. We're going to use that as part of the desert tree seed, I assume. Yeah, let's have a look. Yeah, we also need it as far as this is concerned. So to reproduce prime dead lions, we're going to need sand and water. And conveniently, we have water right here. So this would seem to be an ideal place to get started and expand into. Yeah, so I quite like that. I may have to wait a little while for that to finish and the rest of our research to finish. Oh no! Okay, so that research is now done and we've just started desert farming. This recipe isn't quite right somehow. In here we have this, where is it? Desert garden? Desert garden? Desert garden, there you are. So here, it says, hey, from one of these, you will get 2 of these. 1.5 of these, that already seems a little bit dodgy, and then half and 0.25. Well, not exactly. I put 2 gardens through, and the first time I got 16 and 5, but nothing else. And the second time I got 16 more and 5 of these and nothing else. Don't know what's going on there, but we've got what we wanted. So I'm not going to argue too much, and let's just move these. I guess we can we spread them amongst these labs? Can we put them in those labs at all? No. Interesting. Unknown key, description, science pack remaining amount. Right, what can we use these exploration tokens in then? Let's just have a look. Exploration tokens. And they don't come up. 1 second. Ah, they do work fine, but just not in that first tier of lab. They have to go into the second tier. So I've dropped them in here, and it'll only take 4 of those and 32 of these, I assume. Will it take... okay, so it's using yellows. It's not using any of these yet. Is that per... that's interesting. Well, it's going to take all 32 of these, but it seems to be using up yellows at a rate of knots regardless. Fine, let's just leave that to go and research. So while that's going, okay, let's go and have a look over here. So we've got sand and water, and we're going to be using those to convert this prime deadline seeds into prime deadlines. So let's just look at prime. Or not, in the case of FNEI, such being amazing in a very sarcastic fashion. So fermentation-based corn, prime deadline. There we go. So we're going to need desert farming, which is currently on research, and then we're going to need a basic farm, some sand, some deadline seeds, and water. And we don't want this recipe, do we? We want the other one. Or do we actually... Is it a reprocessing recipe? It is a reprocessing recipe, so we do want that recipe. Fine. We will need the seed extractor to get that back. And the basic farm as well. So maybe a loop of some kind with just those 2 units. Hopefully the seed extractor goes a great deal faster than when we initially researched it. So we're probably going to have, I don't know, we have maybe the farm here. We can put pump in. Let's just put that in place. Pump. And get one of those crafted. And have it feeding in water from here. Again, the whole debate about how we continually get our water on a long-term basis is going to have to come up sooner or later. Let's just put it there. And we're ready for the farming. And hopefully this research is about to complete. Unless it's just stopped on 99.9%. Which it might have, because it's just run out of yellow science packs. Hopefully that's just enough just to squeeze it over the edge. I did put one more electrochem lab down rather than this tier 1 electrochemics lab, I should say. What are the names of those players? Blue Frostfire and Victor. Well, I'm sorry, I can't read that out. At least not without butchering it horribly. Are you going to actually complete? Oh, I need to probably move this over to here to complete it, don't I? There we go. There we go. Desert farming. So I put a farm down. We could make that ahead of time. We just couldn't select any recipes into it until we got this going. So we want prime deadline, which needs some sand, some prime deadline seeds, and that's pretty much it. So I guess we can just decide what to do with that. Let's just... I'm going to need more iron, aren't I? And that's probably going to be occupied making yellow science when we don't need it. So I'm just going to turn that tiny little inserter over there just sideways. You probably can't see that. It's probably a bit too small. I'll just make some underground belt to get this started. And if we put something like this, get the underground belt sorted from here, and you get the idea. We can put that around here, pick up some more iron. Hopefully there'll be more available. Not very much. I need to wait for it to back up a little bit more. There we go. That's one farm. One piece short. Are you just going to give me a little bit more? Yeah. There we go. Okay, so that's the sand sorted. We are going to need power to this, of course. So we can probably leave a gap in between these. There we go. And now we just need these seeds. So let's start you up. And you're incredibly slow. Yeah, we're going to... Man, we do get quite a lot of wood from this once we've got the whole process started. But we've got this farming process going, and there is going to be a farming upgrade option that we'll get, presumably fairly soon. Yeah, farm with desert upgrade there. Presumably that is a much better crafting speed. Let's have a look at... where's the farm crafting speed? Let's have a look. Farms. Half, 1, temperate upgrade, swamp upgrade. Okay, so basically double the speed. That's fine. Ooh, and it's got... I quite like the fact that it's updating that. Show plant growth, presumably. Okay, so we should get, what was it, 35 out of this? Prime. Oh, I couldn't find that last time, could it? Compost. Let's go back through compost. So, corn, prime, yeah, it's probably a capital P, that's probably it. So, yeah, those 5 prime seeds, we'll get 35 out. We can then load those into seed extractor to get 3.5 times this. So that's what, 15, maybe 20, 18 or something like that seeds. So we need to put that back down again. And for now, we can put it here. What I was thinking is we could have them running back along a second sort of belt this way. Something like that. Into here. And this would feed back around. Maybe even to just this side of this belt, and they would just feed back in and hopefully create a loop that would have lots of excess. And then on this side, we would eventually then look at changing this into that compost we were talking about. So going back to here, we'd want to make corn. That will go into a bioprocessor to do that, but we want a large excess of this stuff first. So that's probably going to be next episode now. However, the bioprocessor we can get made. And then from that, we can make fermentation base in a regular chemical plant. And from that into compost, again in chemical plant. And that will get us soil, which is what we wanted for this whole process, which will get us tree seeds, which will get us raw wood with just tree seeds and soil. See, it's pretty much exactly the same, just extra soil once you've created the tree seed in the first place, and still water along the way, and you will get to raw wood, which is exactly what we can use to feed in to all the other systems. For example, 26 raw wood from one cycle through, so every 30 seconds, or every 30 seconds, and each one of those will make 4 cellulose fibers, which is a lot better than when I'm making small electric poles and having to scrounge for, forage for cellulose fiber from anywhere. So we have a nice renewable source of wood. Okay, is that finished now? It is finished. Good. So we can take that. It is 31, 35. It seems to be somewhat variable, so not quite so sure on that one. However, we can feed it back through, and that's very fast. That's very, very nice. So we got 17. So pretty much 3 to 1-ish on this process. And that's pretty good. Okay, can we make a bioprocessor? Bioprocessor? Electronic circuits and iron. Electronic circuits, I should have some up there. Yep, and some iron from over here. There we go. Bioprocessor. And we're going to want to come up a couple of chem plants. Chemical. Unless I have some already. We can make a couple. That's no big deal. And then we can hook that up to the rest of the system. Now, once we get... and I'm going to need some landfill, so let's see if there's any more that made. A couple of hundred. That's enough for my purposes for the moment. Let's grab it from the various boxes. If I have this here, like this... You get the idea. What we can do is have some kind of wood production system here. And then once it goes back into cellulose, we can feed it directly into this system if we wanted to. Where is cellulose coming in here? It's right at this point, isn't it? They're making cellulose from green algae. So we can feed them into these 2 belts here, maybe up this side. And assuming we get enough of it going, that is. And then we can just fill in the rest of this landfill. Yeah. Okay, let me just wait for this process to go through a couple more times. And then we'll start placing stuff down. Okay, so that's now set up. And it's nice, actually, that this setup works this way, because we have a certain recipe here. It takes 4 seconds to produce 6 corn. Okay, so this cycle is also 4 seconds. So is this one. And what is this one? Let me just double check the soil one. Is that 4 seconds as well? Yes, it is. So they're all 4 seconds. What it may well not quite do is it may overproduce the corn. We don't quite need enough of it, so it may back up that way. But I don't much care about that. I can always put something parallel here. We can keep this all nicely linear. I'll move that across 1 or something like that. In fact, no, there's a reason why I didn't move it across 1. It's because we've got gas we need to get rid of here. So we're going to want a flare stack of some kind. Well, of the usual kind. That's annoying. That's even more annoying. Let's just put that flare stack in there and give it power. And that should get everything going. So on the back end of the farm here, I've got a prioritized splitter. So always going to prioritize reprocessing first. You see that's backing up already. Because everything is much, much faster. You'll see it start coming out here. And once this is backed up, it will go back to here. And then the stuff will start heading out this way. When it heads out this way, and I can just put an inserter in there. There we go. It will start inserting our prime deadline. Do I have it in my inventory? I don't think I do. No, I've made sure to keep some just in case we ever need to restore the system. In case it ever runs out for some reason, it should never do that with the way this is set up. But this will go into here, convert into corn. Corn will convert into fermentation base. That will get converted into compost. Compost will get converted into soil, and then soil will get put out onto this line right here. Next episode, we'll go and take that and then make wood with it, I think. Literally the only step we need is the desert tree seed generator left. Did I already make that? Desert tree seed generator? I did make that. Okay, so yeah, I made it at the start of the episode. I actually need this to put this down somewhere, which means I need some landfill. Let me actually finish that off. Just to finish off this episode, that would keep it quite nice. If we have the entire setup here, was some other landfill, 327. It's getting faster, but not quite fast enough yet. Let's put that there. That will do. And we may have more parallel setups here, so I may want to remove this last bit later. And let's say we have it, around here or something like that. What do you actually need to make tree seeds? You just need water. And that's pretty much it. So I guess we can just put an extra pump in. Well, we don't need a pump. We have a water line right here that we can use, but just for this sake, it doesn't really use up any much resources. So we'll just grab a pump. And I'll move this, of course, between the episodes, something like that, I imagine. There we go. Pump. And a couple of you. And then we can just run this. Whoops. Yep, that just needs soil, and that will generate tree seeds. And we're going to want to probably run this way, because we're going to need extra soil for the next step, which is to make raw wood. And we're going to need an arboretum for that, and that looks like it's spelled wrong. Should be ARB, I assume. ARB. Unless it's actually spelled wrong in here as well. I assume that's spelled wrong. Arbor really should be ARBOUR, but I'm not gonna. I think, yeah, I'm not gonna worry too much about it. That's fine. We just need some steel plate, which needs some iron processing. So let's just grab that. Put half of that in there. But let's put it all in there. We've got enough of everything else, and just a bit of power needed, really. So power. Hopefully we can stop foraging for cellulose fiber pretty soon now. That would be very, very nice. Have you backed up entirely? You have backed up to here. And that should mean we're already getting some in here. Are we getting some corn through here yet? Not quite. It's going to need a bit more. It's going to need 10 processing. So let's just put that back in there. And the next time this completes, which is very, very shortly, we should get it backing up. There we go. 1, 2. That started. Should take 4 seconds. Into you. Are you need more than that? Oh no, you started. 75. You should also kick in as well. What do you need? No, that's not what I actually wanted, is it? It's compost. Is it compost? It's one of these icons. Yeah, there we go. We need 100. Okay, so it's 2 cycles in that case. That's fine. We'll just choose the ethanol one, I guess, as long as that will flare stack off. It's a gas, so it should do that just fine. And it started to produce soil. There we go. That wasn't too bad. Have you finished cooking my steel up? We've got 6 steel plate. So can we then make that last piece? What do we need? We need the, a bore. And that needs more iron, which I just cooked up into steel. Let's grab that, some of that iron back. There we go. And that should be that done. We can just direct insert from one into the other. Grab a couple of inserters. And then craft the rest into just transport belts. There we go. So both of these are now ready. They just need power, which will be straightforward to add. Yep, there that goes. So when it passes by here, we can add some soil. And when it gets to here, we can use some more soil and then just pass from one into the other with just one final inserter. When I get some more iron. There you are. Couple more inserters, and that's just direct inserting. So water's coming from here into both of them. This one uses soil and the output from this one. This one also only uses soil. So if we go and put that in there, that's just fine. And pretty much everything of all of our needs is pretty much met here. What depends really is just how fast it produces. It's 1 wood a second or a little bit less. It depends whether we can get everything going from down here. And all that really means, I think, is just scaling up the number of farms, because everything else we've got, sand is effectively infinite. This loop is effectively infinite. This is pretty fast, much faster than the farms. So I'm going to scale up between the episodes of producing more farms, and it just dumps them onto this belt. From that point, it's just, again, this entire process, which is all nicely laid out. And then from there, that'll just produce soil. So it'll produce wood, and wood we can either just use as wood, or we can feed into our cellulose system. So we can transport that, obviously. We can make a shotgun out of wood, I guess. Wooden chests, combat shotguns, gun cotton, phenolic boards, etc., polishing wheels, wooden boards, which we're already doing up there for the other purpose. So yeah, we can make quite a bit with it, but mainly probably add to our fuel system. Let's see in the next episode just how fast that we can get this going, how much of that process we can replace the algae farms with, really. So hopefully you enjoyed this episode. Feel free to like, subscribe, share if you have. And next episode we'll see you for more Factorio Seablock. As always, guys, thanks for watching.